Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. In today's video, I'm going to walk us through all of the news that came out today as part of this month in Dragalia Lost. So most of these are things you can look forward to in October, including some Halloween events since it is the spooky time of year now. It is October 1st, we're in Halloween season, but there's also some really exciting tidbits about what's to come as far as our Megaman crossover. So in this video, I'm going to discuss all of that, but I do want to remind y'all, since it is the first of the month, of course, your shop purchase counts are going to reset. If you collect or buy any of those monthly packs like the Mana Circles Unbind, Weapons, Wormprints, or Dragons, those have reset. You can buy additional ones at this point, but also, more importantly for the vast majority of players, the treasure trade for Astral Raids and for Void Battles has reset, so if you're missing some power on your characters, go into those treasure trades, especially if you have Void Leaves or Void Seeds saved up. You can go ahead and exchange for things like Champion's Testaments, Moonlight Stones, and so on. So hopefully this will be a good power boost for you if you're struggling with some aspects of the raid. And we also got some free items today that I'll touch on in just a moment. So the last piece of housekeeping I want to mention before we get into this month in Dragalia Lost is just that it is the last day where Gala Yuden is on a raid up on the Gala. At reset today, the Gala will switch over to having a focus for all 4 of the past characters, but not for Gala Yuden. So if you really want him, this is the time to target him. I would say in terms of value, the old Gala characters might be a little bit better value, especially if you're lacking a lot of them. Like if you're lacking 3 out of 4 of them, then it's a pretty good value because they have a collective 0.8% rate versus the 0.5% for Yuden. The problem with them is it's going to be much harder to snipe them and get a specific one since that 0.8% rate is split among them. So if you're missing 3 or more, that's 0.6%, that's kind of a hit for you, and 0.2, that's kind of a miss. But if you're 50-50, it's 0.4, so it's kind of worse the more you have, but that is available for only 2 days, so if you want to take advantage of that and want to try get some of those past Gala characters, tomorrow and the next day will be the time to do so. Alright, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into this month in Dragalia Lost. So let's read through. Hello everyone, Yuji Okada here, Director of Dragalia Lost. I hope you enjoyed the recent Dragalia Digest. I did. I do have some experience with live broadcasts, but this sort of edited video was a first for me, so I was pretty nervous. In that Dragalia Digest, I talked about some of the plans for the future of Dragalia Lost. Now it's time to dive a bit deeper. So this is exactly what I wanted to see after watching that digest, because it was very fast-paced, so it was really hard to process a lot of the content, so I'm kind of glad we have it in text form now. And I'll also add, I was thinking this the other day, I'm really shocked that they didn't include the Fractured Futures trailer as part of the digest, because that was so hype. And just based on the digest itself, I didn't even realize that Fractured Futures was an anniversary raid with this level of care put into it. So that's one piece of feedback, I guess, I have about the Dragalia Digest. But first, I'd like to give an overview of the Megaman event teased at the end of the Dragalia Digest. About the Megaman event. The Megaman event is scheduled to occur at the end of November, so it's still a ways off, but they did say winter, and so end of November, being in the winter period, that's relatively early in winter, so I'm happy about that. In it, you'll be able to add Megaman to your team as a temporary adventurer. So basically they're telling us Megaman is the welfare unit or the free unit, just like Alphonse was for the Fire Emblem Heroes crossover. So if you're worried about having to save a lot of resources just to get Megaman, worry not. You're going to be able to get a Megaman and add him by forming a friendship with him during the event, and then he'll stay as an ally after the event ends. The way Megaman moves and attacks is based on his own games. Even the animations for when he takes damage or when his HP reaches 0 are callbacks to his series. So that is really awesome. I feel like they need to take a page out of the book of Masahiro Sakurai for this, because look at how Megaman is represented in Smash. The pellets, the movements, the design. there is so much finesse. There is so much care in every character in that game. And I feel like, honestly, with the Fire Emblem, they have a good track record of their collabs. So I do have high expectations they'll be able to capture that feel. Fire Emblem brought in everything from music from the Fire Emblem Heroes game to the actual HP bars that are shown in the Fire Emblem series. And so even the difficulty levels were actually based on Fire Emblem Heroes. There were just so many nods and so many references that I feel like they will do this right. They will do this justice, and I'm really glad about that. So from there it says, we'll have more to share about his skills and shape-shifting capabilities. Alright, that's an interesting one. In future notices, but trust me when I say they will be distinctly Megaman. So as far as shape-shifting capabilities, I've seen a lot of Reddit theories and Discord theories about this. So some people are of the opinion that Megaman will be able to equip different types of weapons. It fits with the fact that he gets abilities and powers from bosses he defeats. So I could totally see that being the case. Other people have another idea, I guess, of him having different elements. And that could also make sense since a lot of the abilities he has are based on elemental bosses. So if he's shooting out flames or wind, it would make sense for him to be of that element. So maybe it'll actually be both, like choose your weapon type and choose your element. That would be super sweet. But in the world of Dragalia Lost, shapeshifting also has a very specific meaning, right? Of transforming into a dragon. So then you wonder, what will Mega Man's transformation be like? We know Dragalia Lost has the design space and the technology, and they've shown this with Golem Mim, where they can have a character who is forced to transform into a very specific thing. So no matter what dragon you have equipped for the purpose of stats to Golem Mim, she always transforms into Brunhilde and then into Super Brunhilde. So maybe they could set it so that Mega Man always transforms into a powered up version of himself, or maybe he transforms into, a custom elemental version depending on what dragon you have equipped. So perhaps if you have a wind dragon equipped, he'll have a gust related ability. Maybe if you have a flame dragon equipped, he'll have a fire related ability. So I think there are really cool ways they could go with the actual shape-shifting. And from there, let's keep going. You'll join Mega Man in fighting against the Great Worms, so this is the other wrinkle, who will have special behavior for this event. But why the Great Worms? Well, a certain someone has come to the world of Dragalia Lost. So honestly, that reference is a little bit lost on me. I don't know if there's any connection between dragons and like Dr. Wily. I don't know if there's another character in Mega Man that has a specific relationship to Great Worms, or like if that's a reference to anything. But to me, when I see we're fighting the Great Worms, I immediately think of the boss select screen in Mega Man, right? Where you pick which Great Worm you fight, and maybe it's even based on that. Like, you beat High Midgard Swarmer or Midgard Swarmer first. You unlock a wind power-up so that Mega Man can shapeshift into a wind element. And then you can use that to fight against Mercury with your Mega Man. And you beat Mercury and you get a water power-up. So to me, that would be a really cool way to implement that on like a select screen, and all of the different Great Worms are one of the bosses. But I just don't know, what the lore connection is really just looking at it. But we're not spilling those beans yet, it says, so we won't know for a while. You'll just have to look forward to the event to find out exactly who this is. You'll also be able to get event-specific items, worm prints, and weapons. There will also be event-specific music. Of course, that's a given, but the Mega Man soundtrack, really good. The various soundtracks, I should say. And the event-specific items and worm prints, that sounds really fun too. Imagine having artwork of Mega Man hanging out with Yuden. It's just, this one is so remote. Like, Fire Emblem Heroes kind of makes sense in the world of Dragalia Lost. This is so remote that it's fascinating. Like, it's really amazing to think about, and it's cool. Genuinely, I feel like this is going to be shocking, whatever happens, and I know little enough about Mega Man that I'm really excited and looking forward to being surprised by it. So the last thing is just November's this month in Dragalia Lost, so a month from today, we'll have more information on this, so keep an eye out for it. And thank goodness, we have Megaman here, looking good, looking like the Mega Man 11 incarnation, and it's not the dreaded, recent, animated series Mega Man. That was actually a fear of mine, or a thought that crossed my head, was like, is this going to be the worst timeline where we get the worst Mega Man? But no, it's Mega Man. He's looking really good there, so I'm super happy about that, and it just opens up the world of possibilities, right? And at this pace, if we get a couple collabs a year, I think that's awesome. I feel like those are really tentpole events. They put a lot of production value into them based on what we saw the first time with Fire Emblem Lost Heroes. So I am super stoked for this. I think this will be a great entry point to the game, and hopefully it gives us a hint at what's to come, because this is actually releasing before Chapter 11, which is the one that's supposed to introduce androids. So this might be the most sci-fi thing we get at first in the world of Dragalia Lost. I guess that's it. We have to move on from Mega Man to keep reading the rest of this, so let's go ahead and read about new difficulty levels for Advanced Dragon Trials. They'll be adding these on October 11th at reset, so the night of the 10th going into the 11th if you're based in the US. The current difficulty will be considered standard, and will add expert and master difficulties. In expert, the only difference will be that the high dragons have increased HP and strength. However, the increased HP means that you may not be able to circumvent some of the boss's moves by utilizing the break timing. So I do think, yeah, more HP and more strength can affect things like that. So there's room for the expert even to be more interesting than the standard difficulty. And I'm actually surprised here that they don't just call Prelude as beginner difficulty, honestly, and just roll it all into one menu. I think they might want to do that just to make it simpler for people to understand, because Prelude essentially just has lower HP than the normal High Dragon Trial. The element available for Master Difficulty will change each week. The first Master Difficulty available will be High Brunhilde, so start getting your water units ready, your burn res units ready for that. The dragons will behave differently in Master, so you have to cook up some new strategies to deal with them. That should be exciting. You know, part of the fun of the High Dragon Trials is certainly the discovery process. When they are brand new, there's a lot of experimentation. There's people who really care a lot about speed clears or covet the first clear. I've never really been on the cutting edge of the High Dragons. It took me a long time to actually get to those, and I was playing through a lot more casually, but I was a witness to that because a lot of y'all do like that and play High Dragon Trials over on the Discord. And so watching some of you engage and figure out the strategies, pin posts that are helpful, start to formulate guides, I love that process and that period of the game, even if I'm not always the one, you know, who is really at the cutting edge of it. I kind of ride the coattails, and then once a few of you have cleared on the Discord, I might be able to clear as well. But I think it's cool. I hope that they shake up the fights in a way that makes them more exciting, more challenging, because at this point, we have so much more ammo to take on these high dragons. You know, we have augments. In the case of High Brunhilde's Trial, we have dual worm prints. You know, we didn't have that when High Brunhilde's Trial released. We didn't have a worm print shop. There are so many ways that these have been broken open. I mean, we didn't have void battles. So this should be more interesting than what's currently available, and my hope is that by playing on the harder difficulties, you will get more rewards, so that for those who are later comers to the High Dragon Trials, it will let you kind of catch up if you want to unbind the dragon that you get for free from these, or level up the Fafnir statues. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on Master, but there's more here, so let's keep going. You can also craft new weapons using the new materials that will drop in Expert and Master. To craft these weapons, you must first craft certain other weapons. First, you'll need to use insignias and other materials to craft an elementally attuned 5-star core weapon. Second, you'll need to craft a 5-star weapon with the High Dragon's Bane ability using the materials gained from void battles. There's no need to fully unbind these weapons, but crafting each weapon type and element will allow you to craft new High Dragon weapons. Alright, so that's a lot of news to read through at once, but just looking at the picture, you already know where I'm gravitating, and that is, there is a wind bow here. So I'm feeling super glad in a way that I actually dismantled Eleanor's bow to help me clear Light Mercurial Gauntlet, because now I will be able to use what's left as a fodder to put into an even stronger bow. And I've saved the Damascus ingots we've gotten from this event. And honestly, if you are somebody who's already taking on high dragon trials and you're that powerful, just save your ingots for this because these weapons stand to be better. It looks like they'll roll out in a limited way, so you may not realize this at first, but it's one of every weapon type split across the elements. So it's a flame axe, a flame blade. I don't know if this is just a sample of what's going to be available or this will be all that's there at first. But it's a water lance, water dagger, wind bow, light sword, and then a shadow staff and a shadow wand. So from a strict power level standpoint, you know that it probably would be better for me to get this for Gala Cleo, but I am going to get this for Eleonora because it's not like I'm really struggling with any content right now, and this is the time. With the advent of hustle hammers, I am very close to legitimately maxing her out. So I was actually able to, during the double drops IO, grind out enough to get her dojos up to 35 each. So I'm very close. I'm just missing some Fafnir levels, and I have enough ingots that I could fully unbind this once it releases. So it sounds like my reading is there's no need to fully unbind these weapons, but crafting each weapon type and element will allow you to craft new high dragon weapons. The way I'm reading this is these are the high dragon weapons you're crafting, and the thing they're saying you don't need to fully unbind is the 5-star core weapon and the 5-star High Dragon's Bane weapon. So I'm hoping I can just use them at base without having to fully unbind them and save my ingots, and that's basically what I've been saying this whole time. So if we actually do need to max unbind the components, well, it would be a real slog to craft these, so I don't think they would make it that hard. I'm expecting that they'll kind of just tack on the High Dragon ability, the Bane ability, to the weapon skill, and basically this is like weapon fusion. But I hope it's something more. I wouldn't mind if they give them a little extra bump. Besides that, maybe some unique abilities that do cool things. Maybe the skills get better in the case of some of the worst skills, like Luke's Lamina, the water dagger, only gives you a 5-second strength buff, so if they were to replace that with like an attacking skill even, that would be super nice. And then I guess these materials here are going to be the drops that we use to exchange that come from Master difficulty of High Brunhilde's Trial. So it looks like there will be unique drops, and that means that you're not necessarily, what I said earlier about, hoping to get more drops that way, it doesn't seem like it's a guarantee necessarily, but maybe these will be some of the drops, and you'll still get your High Dragon orbs as well. Alright, so let's keep going here, as this is the one that I'm least sure of, to be honest. So, time attack ranking for Advanced Dragon Trials, for a limited time starting on October 11th, so that same day, we'll be holding time attack rankings for each element in the new Expert Difficulty Advanced Dragon Trials. Those who complete the time attack during the event will receive items based on their ranking. The top players will also get a special epithet, so we hope to see a lot of you battling it out. The clear times and team composition for the top 25 teams will be made public, so those who are unable to participate will be able to use that information for reference when building teams in the future. We're restricting it to the harder difficulty because this is the first ranking event. However, we'd like to consider a wider scope for future ranking events based on how things go this time. So I really appreciate the how things go this time and the limited time nature of this event, because I do see this as an experiment. I don't think the devs are hard committed to making a PvP or PvE ranked just yet. I am still skeptical about this just because I don't really like the competition among players for things like speed clears. It just doesn't appeal to me. But honestly, there are people out there who love it, so I don't want to take away from them, and if it's not hurting me, I don't see it as a problem. I guess it's mostly just fear of missing out, FOMO. The reason people don't like stuff like this is they feel like because they have weaker teams, they're not going to get all the rewards. But when you read how it's worded, it says those who complete the time attack during the event will receive items based on their ranking. I wonder if it's just completing different levels of difficulty of time attack, and you get rewards for that. That is still my hope, but it does say ranking there, and we know that the special epithet is definitely tied to being in the top ranking. So, I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about this, honestly, but I guess we'll see on October 11th. I'm willing to give it a chance. It might be the first time I miss out on some rewards in the game because I doubt I will be able to be one of the fastest players for this. But I'm going to give it a shot if it comes down to it and see how far I'm able to push myself and my team. So I guess that's all I want to say about that. I'm going to keep my eye on this and definitely going to send feedback since, like I said, it does seem like it's going to be based on how things go this time. So next up, we get the 6th tier for mana circles. We're expanding the opportunities for upgrading after unbinding the 5th mana circle tier. And right now I can share the following information about the 6th mana circle tier. The 6th tier will not be available for all adventurers right off the bat. Instead, they're adding it to adventurers over time. You'll be able to use it to upgrade various parameters, skills, and abilities. We're planning to implement it within the year. So not a whole lot of new information there. I guess it's just confirmation that you can upgrade skills and abilities, and as far as parameters, that might just be a way of referring to both HP and strength at once, which is what we already see in lower levels of the mana circle. So the fact that it's a staggered release, though, I do think is a positive. I think it's cool as a way to give older characters some renewed interest for a short time, at least to kind of spike up some excitement around them. So characters like Xainfried really need this, or Ezolith, and even beyond them, the 3 stars, the 4 stars from release really need this. Like Eleonora, just saying, she could use it, so that's all I want to say about that. Just a little plug for who I think deserves a power creep. But updates to the main campaign. I hope everyone is looking forward to Chapter 11 of the main campaign. They're currently planning on releasing it around December. From that point, 1 chapter every other month. And they mentioned this bit about story segments to show a different perspective of the main campaign. We pretty much already knew this from the digest, so I'm not going to dwell on that. And then this last part we already pretty much knew from the digest as well. New bosses are on the way for after the High Dragons, but the first of these won't appear. Well, it will appear, but it won't appear until later in the year, sometime before the end of the year. So they can't share too many details, but focus on crafting the new High Dragon weapons as you await their release. Essentially, the repeated, harder High Dragon content is kind of something to tide over more invested players who maybe are already getting through High Zodiarch. They're going to want things to do to keep them engaged in the game. And so basically the Master and Expert is something to kind of keep your interest tidy over until this comes out in November or December. And I think that's pretty much it. There are some extra features here that are planned for March or by March of next year. Changing the appearance of weapons, facility events applying even in your storehouse, automatically replaying selected quests, an encyclopedia that will also provide rewards based on how complete it is, and the biggest one for so many people, play past events anytime. So hopefully we'll get some more details on that. I could see this coming out as late as New Year's though, just because it could be a really hype thing for them to bill to players, so I wouldn't get too excited or pumped about that just yet. But here's information about the events planned for October. So all of that was just digest recap. So now let's talk about the events planned for October. October events. We already know we have our Summon Showcase with Cassandra and Delphi that's starting on October 4th. He talks about the skills, actually. The first one, Adventure with the counter skill. And so Delphi is unique compared to adventures we've seen until now. He can apply the Poison Affliction to enemies, and his skill gauge for the skill charges over time. It looks like from what's been data mined, his first skill takes about 13 seconds to charge, and his second skill takes about 20 seconds to charge. So they're a lot faster than Gala Yuden's second skill, so I don't think it should be seen as a horrible drawback to him. However, that 60% strength buff, or boost, or debuff, 60% strength debuff on his ability is pretty bad. The interesting thing is his poison does 6 times the damage of any other adventurer, so it's kind of a wash in that sense. But yeah, I still don't know how good they'll be. If you're lacking Shadow Adventurers, probably a nice pickup, especially if you're newer to the game, maybe struggling with the raid. And Shadow is one of those elements that has no weakness and you can kind of take it anywhere. At the very least, their co-abilities are good for something like the Mercurial Gauntlet as well, and I don't think these would be bad adventurers to take to High Jupiter's trial, since in the case of Delphi, High Jupiter can be poison, and Cassandra seems like she could actually fit in relatively easily to some of the meme teams that you see with Galacleo and Veronica. So the Fractured Futures raid event is live until October 11th. You can collect raid boosts, which is a new feature, but a controversial new feature I found because apparently the drop rate for the rare raid boosts is very low, so if you haven't gotten any, I would suggest you send feedback. I've gotten one, and I'm just about the point with all my emblems that I'm going to unlock my Omega keys, so yeah, I've only gotten one, but I think that's actually kind of lucky because there are some players out there who got to like 9,000 gold emblems and maybe got one at that point, or maybe two. So in the future, my suggestion for raid boosts would be for the Blazon summons. After you get all the copies of the dragon for the raid event, the next Blazon boxes onwards contain the rare raid boosts within them. So you actually can summon the rare raid boosts, and the more you play, essentially, you'll exhaust those Blazon boxes. Eventually you can get them all, but by playing a lot. That would kind of introduce a hard upper limit on how much you have to play for the RNG to just get these raid boosts. They're not necessary for the Omega Solo. I've seen players clear without any raid boosts, but they will make your life a lot easier for that. And actually, I still haven't taken it on because I used all of my ashes on IO this weekend, so I haven't been able to grind the raid extra hard or anything, but expect some coverage of that, hopefully my clear of that in the next couple days. So at 1 a.m. on October 11th, that's when we're getting our Advanced Dragon Trials new difficulty that we already talked about. And then actually, a little clarification here. So on the 14th is going to be the first Master difficulty with Hybern Hilda. So it is a little bit later than that, and I'm not sure what days of the week they are, but it might coincide with that. In conjunction, they're having increased drops for the water quest in IO, so pretty cool. They actually let us know about that. That's kind of unusual. That's not something they would tell us beforehand in the past. They're also going to add new void enemies and hold a catch-up campaign. Great, because there's probably a lot of new players, and every month there is usually kind of a dead period where they have those void endeavors, where there's good rewards and it's time to do your grinding to clear out your monthly treasure trade, but not the most exciting thing, I would say. It's just kind of part of the routine in a month. You might get a couple events as well as a week that's just void endeavors. So here's the good part. Next, we'll be reviving the Halloween event starting at 1 a.m. October 18th, 2019. It's a revival event, but the rewards will be adjusted, Nightmare will be added, and will also bump up the facility levels. So we actually can get our facility, our Sweet Retreat facility, to a higher level than in the past, which is cool. Additionally, the Summon Showcase will feature new adventurers. So I'm assuming that it's going to include the old, but also some new ones. So I think that's a really nice way of handling it. Just roll it all into one showcase. I guess the downside would be if you have everything that's old, you might be more likely to get some dupes. In my case, I don't have Halloween Edward or Halloween Althemia, so I am going to go out of my way and try pick them up, as well as any new, cool, super nice costume-clad adventurers for Halloween. Gotta get the spooky adventurers. So it might be limited. I think this will be very telling. Honestly, the fact that it's the Summon Showcase from before, but with new adventurers, it probably is going to be limited, which we haven't had a limited showcase, like a brand new limited showcase, in a very long time. I want to say the last one was Valentine's Day, and they actually did a revival of that about a month ago. So I think that was the last one, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm super excited about that. I think that's going to be really fun. And then last up, something I mentioned way back at the beginning of the video when I was talking about the packs and the reset for Astral Raids and for Void Battles. We also just got a random super nice gift to upgrade Shadow Tune Adventurers and hopefully help you out with the first anniversary raid. So tons of materials for enfranchised players. Succulent Dragon Fruit, the Consecrated Water, is going to be the most exciting for you, as well as the Eld's Water, but for anyone, this is a nice stash of upgrade materials. Well, we've gone on way longer than expected, so that's going to do it for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.